Hey, it's Uncle Weeb and I'm back. And today we're going to go over and discuss whether Goku is a fourth or fifth dimensional being, and how to recognize a fourth or fifth dimensional being within a verse. Now, of course, you're going to have those fans that are going to say or state that because Goku threatened the destruction of the Kaioshin realm and the world beyond, that means Goku must be a fourth or fifth dimensional being, because the Kaioshin realm and the world beyond are fourth dimensional constructs. As you can see here, the argument is that the Kaioshin realm and the world beyond realm are fourth dimensional constructs, and because Goku is able to shake the macrocosm of Universe 7, and the macrocosm of Universe 7 contains these fourth dimensional constructs, then he must be a fourth or fifth dimensional being. This is dead wrong, and whoever makes this argument for Goku does not understand dimensional tearing. So let's dive into it. I want to talk about Bleach and this Aizen clip, because here's the best display of dimensional tearing in a fiction verse, in my opinion, in just any fictional verse. I believe you could, at this moment you cannot find a better explanation or a better example of a higher dimensional character affecting a lower dimensional character. Understand that this is right after Aizen absorbed the Hogyoku. It's this item, the Hogyoku is capable of warping reality and manifesting his desires. So if you will notice, after he absorbed this power, and you look at the clip, the three-dimensional human could not even be near him. Now, the reason the three-dimensional human cannot be near him is because because the three-dimensional human could not sense Aizen's power, he still was not able to maintain any type of existence or presence near Aizen. This is what a higher dimensional being is. A three-dimensional construct cannot interact or even see a fourth dimensional construct unless allowed by the fourth dimensional or fifth dimensional being. A three-dimensional character fighting a four-dimensional character is equivalent to a two-dimensional piece of paper fighting us. It just wouldn't be on the ticket. Like, who would want to see that fight? So let's just dive into it a little bit deeper. For example, take a two-dimensional square on a piece of paper. To that two-dimensional square on a piece of paper, we as three-dimensional constructs are gods. We possess reality warping abilities as far as that two-dimensional square is concerned. You could draw that two-dimensional square on a two-dimensional piece of paper, a wife, a family, maybe even a house, and you can easily just erase his existence altogether. You can erase his family, you can erase him. Goku does not possess this level of control over any fourth dimensional reality, nor does he possess the ability of erasing every fourth dimensional construct, let alone the few three-dimensional beings such as Frieza and Beerus, who he is unable to destroy. Dimensional tearing is arbitrary and can lead to inflated feats and tears, because there is no universal guide for the existence of a reality of the different characters in every verse of fiction. Hence why three-dimensional beings are able to enter the world beyond. This is why Ichigo is also able to destroy pieces of the Soul Society, and why Yusuke could enter the spirit realm. A three-dimensional character can never injure or affect a four-dimensional character, let alone see or sense the four-dimensional character. We could easily erase the existence of this two-dimensional square. The reason we could easily erase this two-dimensional square goes back to basically just doing proper research. What many amateur power scalers and Gokutards don't realize is that dimensional tiering has to first start with dimensional analogy. Now, dimensional analogy proves that higher beings are capable of warping reality or any dimensional construct lower than the dimension they currently reside in or of existence in. Now stay with me for a minute, power scalers, because this is physics, and I did terrible in physics freshman year. That shit was hard as fuck. Dimensional analogy is the study of how dimensions affect other dimensions. And here's the equation. First of all, it has been talked about and used in literature for over 100 years. To explain the relation of dimensional beings, you have to take into account, you have to take to account what the dimensions levels are. So Edwin Abbott, in his book, he talks about, in his book Flatland, he talks about the relation to, the dimensions and how each dimension is above and can observe the lower dimensions. As I said, for example, take a two-dimensional square, for example, that lives in a two-dimensional world, like a piece of paper. As I've said, from the perspective of the two-dimensional piece of square paper and square, the three-dimensional being is a god and can warp the reality of the two-dimensional world. By applying dimensional analogy, you have to conclude that many Gokutards are claiming Goku is a fourth-dimensional being, but has limited and honestly no control at all over the reality of the three-dimensional beings that he resides in. Goku has no reality warping powers, and the only way Goku could be a fourth or fifth dimensional being is if he had some level of control over the third dimension. He doesn't. Seeming is how the world of living, and the reality is Goku can be injured by three-dimensional weapons and other beings of the world of living. And we're talking about dimensional tiering. I want to talk about first, to recognize a fourth or fifth dimensional character, you have to go back to the dimensional analogy concept and apply those rules. For example, Thanos is powerful. We all know this. But the Watcher is a true fourth dimensional being in the Marvel Universe and can revert Thanos to a child. Reason being, the Watcher has control over all of three-dimensional beings in reality and their existence. He's able to warp the reality of three-dimensional. Any heroes that are of three-dimensional existence can be affected by the Watcher. If Thanos does not have the Infinity Gauntlet, there is nothing he can do. Zeno is a fourth or fifth dimensional being, as he has absolute control over the third dimension. When he erased Zamasu in his universe, that was a high level of reality warping. Aizen is a fourth dimensional being, and Yacht was a fifth dimensional being. Azathoth from the Lovecraft verse is a fifth dimensional being. So I know you're wondering, what are the criteria for a character to be beyond three-dimensional? Number one, he or she must be able to have complete control over the existence or reality of the third dimension. I'm talking about complete control. 2, he or she must be immortal unless killed by a character of the same dimensional existence. 3, they do not need food, sleep, and they do not get sick. So fifth, fourth dimensional beings do not need food, sleep, and they do not get sick. So let's just run down the 3 once more. First of all, a fifth or fourth dimensional being is immortal. Second, they must be able to have complete control over the existence or reality of the third dimension. And when I talk about existence, I'm talking about the existence of the beings within that three-dimensional plane. They have complete control. And 3, again, they do not need food, sleep, and they do not get sick. They do not get viruses. If the character in question does not fall within these 3 criteria, he is not a higher dimensional being. This is why there is no way Goku could ever be a 4th or 5th dimensional being. And maybe, later on in writing, maybe they will make him one, but currently Goku is not a 4th or 5th dimensional being. And check out my part 2 of this video. I'm gonna have it out soon, and it discusses dimensional tearing and how it can cause inflated feet and tearing if you're not a veteran power scaler. So please hit that subscribe and like button, and hit me with your thoughts in the comment section below. This is Angry Weave, and I'm out.